If you or someone you know is currently upside down or underwater on a car loan, I want you to know something important. You are not alone. New data from Edmunds, one of the largest vehicle research platforms in the world, shows that 1 in 4 vehicle trade ins now carries negative equity. At the same time, new government numbers reveal that auto sales dropped sharply last month. Experts are trying to spin this, saying that slower demand might keep prices steady for now. But let's be real, that stability won't last. The cracks are already showing. The car market lost 500,000 sales in a single month. Tricolor, a massive lender with 65 dealerships, has filed for bankruptcy. Bosch is cutting 13,000 jobs, and auto delinquencies have hit a 15-year high. But the real crisis isn't the sales numbers. The real crisis is that millions of Americans are financially trapped. The average new car now costs $46,000. The average monthly payment is hovering around $750 at 9% interest. We are seeing people who owe $60,000 on cars that are only worth $30,000. They can't sell, they can't refinance, they can't escape. Dealerships have become so desperate to move metal that one of them was caught on camera literally telling a 20-year-old to commit insurance fraud just to get out of his loan. These are the real stories behind a collapsing market and the single biggest wealth killer in America right now. If there was only one piece of financial advice you ever listened to, let it be this: pay off your car, get rid of that payment, and never go into car debt again. A car payment is the single biggest sinkhole for your money. You are pouring cash into something that immediately loses value. By the time you finish paying off the loan, that vehicle is often worth half or less of what you paid for it. It is the largest depreciating asset in the average American's life, yet somehow we have been convinced that going into debt for it is normal. Wealthy people don't do this. They do not pay interest on assets that drop in value. They buy cars in cash, cars they can actually afford. The secret to financial stability is sacrificing upfront to buy something within your means, rather than walking into debt slavery labeled as a car payment. But most Americans never learned this. We were conditioned to believe that a car payment is a non-negotiable part of life, and the entire car industry is banking on that mindset. Someone recently said something profound. People would rather ride in luxury than live in luxury. And that is exactly the trap. We have normalized spending $700, $1,000, even $1,500 a month on vehicles we cannot afford instead of using that money to build actual freedom. Ask most young people today, and they'll tell you the same thing. If they could go back, they would choose the Toyota or the Honda, the sensible, reliable choice, instead of financing a $70,000 truck at 9% interest. But many don't learn this lesson until it's too late. And that vulnerability leads us to the next dark reality: dealership fraud. One woman shared a nightmare scenario. She is currently $60,000 in car debt, and $30,000 of that is pure negative equity. In 2022, she went to buy a Jeep Wrangler hybrid. Because of inventory shortages, they ordered her car. But the salesman made her an offer: take a Jeep off the lot with 3 months of no payments, and when her ordered car arrived, they'd just roll that loan into the new one. When she finally arrived to pick up her new Jeep, they handed her a contract showing the car cost $100,000 total. She expected payments around $600. Suddenly, they were $1,000 a month. And the finance guy who promised her the deal didn't work there anymore. When they rolled the first loan into the second, the negative equity exploded. Even an attorney couldn't make sense of how the numbers were manipulated. Today, the Jeep is worth maybe $35,000, but she still owes $59,000. This kind of predatory behavior is exactly what helped trigger Tricolor's bankruptcy, and regulators are finally starting to investigate. Another buyer ordered a custom-built vehicle for nearly $78,000. They put $10,000 down. Their monthly payment is $1,100. Today, they still owe $57,000, but the dealership appraised the vehicle at only $40,000. That's $17,000 in equity, gone instantly. This is the new normal. New cars drop 20 to 30% the moment they leave the lot. Combined with high interest rates and long loan terms, people end up in what can only be described as payment prison. You can't sell. Refinancing barely helps. The payments eat your monthly budget, and the negative equity just keeps growing. Dealers are getting desperate, and desperation breeds corruption. A 20-year-old went to trade in his Jeep. The salesman told him no bank on the East Coast would take the trade in because of the negative equity. Then he looked at him and said, "Why don't you hit something really hard and hope insurance pays out? Or just throw a can of gas on it?" He said it twice. This was a salesman at a major dealership encouraging a kid to commit insurance fraud because they're drowning in inventory they can't move. If he said that to him, imagine how many others he's said it to. Quality control is collapsing too. A woman saved for 9 months to buy a 2020 Ford Escape. During the test drive, warning lights came on. The dealer promised to fix it. She returned to pick it up, assured everything was perfect. She drove half a mile before the dashboard lit up again. Powertrain failure, brake system failure, EcoBoost issues. She drove back. They fixed it again. She drove off a second time and the lights came back immediately. Thankfully, she demanded her money back. Most buyers wouldn't know how to fight that. Dealerships are now selling cars that are barely passing inspection, if they are inspected at all. Then there are people just trying to survive. One person explained they are using a skip-a-pay program on their $680 car note just to redirect money toward their 13% interest credit card debt. On paper, the math makes sense. But the bigger issue is that they are juggling $40,000 in debt just to keep their head above water. This is the American financial trap. Constant juggling, constant reallocating, constant survival. And it all started when we normalized a $680 car payment as just part of adult life. And finally, the most heartbreaking reality: someone recently filmed themselves in tears because their car was being repossessed within 48 hours. This wasn't just a car to them. They bought it with their mother before she passed away. That vehicle carried them across state lines through major life events. It was their shelter, their stability, and their last connection to a parent. Now it's gone. They admitted feeling like a failure, losing friends, money, transportation, and possibly even their home. Loans from 2022 and 2023 are going delinquent at alarming rates. This person represents hundreds of thousands of Americans facing the same crisis. The auto market is flashing bright red warning signs. Sales are falling. Delinquencies are climbing. Major suppliers like Bosch are slashing jobs. Ford is lowering rates for subprime borrowers just to move trucks. Honda scrapped an EV after only 1 year. Both the car market and the housing market are frozen, and both are filled with massive amounts of negative equity. Most Americans are truly one missed paycheck away from disaster. If you're thinking of buying a car in this market, don't. If you absolutely must, buy a used Toyota or Honda. Buy it in cash. Avoid the trap. The people who keep cash on the sidelines are the ones who will win when this market finally breaks.